We're going to start modeling a large round tower, and I've gone ahead and taken a piece of the concentric wall and placed it in one of the layers of a new object, and we're going to use that as a template just so we can keep things in scale and proportion. I'm going to start by using the disk tool. And we're just going to create the basic shape for our tower. And actually what we're gonna undo that and use the numeric. And if you reset the tool and you activate, it will bring up the last options you had. And we're going to change the sides actually to about 48, just so it's a little bit rounder and it's not so polygonal. I'm going to bring it down just a little. Okay, and now I've taken one of the Merlin from the concentric wall, and we're going to use that so we keep the same size Merlins for the tower, and I can delete that wall now. And since these are not round, what we're going to do is knife it right down the center. Actually, I think we're going to center this first, and we're going to center the tower as well, and bring that up. Just so because we will be working with the array tool, which we will need everything to be centered for. Okay, and now you're right down the center, and we're going to grab these points. See, we kind of get a weird effect because we've still got the arrow loops in there. So we're going to use this as a template and just make a new one, because it doesn't take that long. Okay, now we can delete our template. And we're not going to Boolean it just yet, but I did want to make those so we had those before we deleted the template. And we're going to grab these points and pull them out. And we're going to add another knife and round it just a little more. And then we can delete this side and mirror it over so it's exact. And now, center our arrow loops, and actually need to pull them down just a little. And now we can do our Boolean subtract. Good. Another thing sometimes I like to do is angle up the arrow loops, or angle them down outward, since the archers will be shooting downward. and it'll be open a little bit more in the back. And we're going to select these polygons and bevel them. Just so we get our little accent. And then we're also going to add our back accents. Before we use the array tool so that we don't have to copy several of these. And basically just pretty much the same principle as we were doing before. And we can leave that square, and we don't have to worry about rounding that at all, but we will use the bevel tool to get a nice accent. And then what I like to do on the round towers, or in towers in general, is also add a slight little side accent. And that's a bit much, so we're going to zoom in a little more. And now we have a bevel on that. And we'll mirror that down the center. And there we have a new Merlin. We're going to call these Tower Round Merlin Nurney. And Tower Round Merlin. And Tower Round. And now we can cut the accents, the Nurneys, and paste them into the Merlin layer. And now we use the array tool, which is Control Y, and we're going to do a radial array. And we're going to do 18, and that's a bit much, so we're going to undo that. And we'll try it again with 14. And that looks pretty good. About the same spacing as we had before. Okay, now we're going to edit the actual tower. And we're going to knife it. I'll undo that. And then knife it again, one Merlin down. We'll just use the stretch tool. And as you can see, I brought them in to about where the Merlins are. And just looks a little more realistic that way. And we're not going to do a bottom part. And we're going to leave the tower open, or flush. And I'm going to delete the bottom polygon because we won't need it. And now we're going to work on the bevel for the walk. Okay, first thing we're going to do is just pull it in so we get a nice little ring around here without going down yet, because we want to have a nice little edge on it. And then right mouse click, and you can do it again. And we'll get that little edge. And right mouse click again, and drag it down just a little. Right mouse click again, and one more. And that's good. And tower round allure. Okay, and now we also want to add our corbels, so we're actually going to grab them from the other model so that they're the same size. And we'll just copy those, paste them in a new layer. And just match them up. And we also need to center that. So that we can array it. Okay, and we're gonna have these, a set of them right underneath each one of the merlins. So we're just gonna array it the same exact amount, which is 14 times. And now we have our supports for our merlins, because we have a beveled inward edge. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is add a ring around the tower, just using the disc tool. And we don't want it sticking out too much, which is sticking out quite a bit. So we're gonna stretch that, constraining it with the middle mouse button if you have one, otherwise use the control key. Or the shift key. Okay, and we're going to add a bevel to the top polygons. And we're going to bevel them all the way inward, and then delete the polygons. And there we have that nice rim. And we're going to call this tower round ring top. Tower round corbels. Now we can also add accents along here, and also use the array tool to rotate them around as we clone them. But we're going to leave it how it is right now, because I'm kind of happy with that. And now we're going to work on the archer loops, the arrow loops. And for this tower, we're going to be using a different type of loop. We want it just a little bit taller. And in this case, we're just going to have two sets, one right here and one right here, going all the way around, just on 4 sides. And we're going to copy this, paste this in another layer, because what we actually want to do with it is some arrow loops are in the shape of cross, and that's what we're going to do with this. We'll cut it and paste it with the other one. And then copy and paste and rotate right in the center. And then we're going to copy and paste it and bring it down about right there. And we're going to make sure we give this the tower round surface. And we're also going to separate the crosses of the cross part from the original loop we made, because we need to boolean these separately, otherwise we will not get the effect that we want. Boolean subtract, and then Boolean subtract. And we also want to delete these middle polygons, because we won't need them, just right in the center. But leave the points alone, otherwise it will destroy the actual loop. And as you can see through them all the way to the other side, and we don't want that. First we're going to bevel these inside polygons, and then I'll show you how to take care of being able to see all the way through and making it look like one long, long arrow loop through it. Okay, we got a nice bevel. And now what we're going to do is create another disk in the inside, just where the arrow loops are. And we're going to call it tower round. We're just actually we're going to use the surface for the other towers too, so we're just going to call this forced black. And what that's going to do is, since that surface will be black, it will look like it's dark on the inside. And actually, since this is going to be a defense tower, I think I'm going to add one more set of loops around. So we're going to Boolean, Boolean. We won't worry about that right now then. Just cut and paste everything in. Sometimes when you're doing booleans upon booleans, usually it's good to do it all at once, because otherwise you will get weird error messages like I just got. But we want to move this along, so we're not going to worry about that right now. And that's pretty much our round tower completed. There's one last thing we're going to do, and we are going to add a door on the bottom. And we're going to pretty much do the same method as we did before while building the windows for the curtain wall. We're going to create a disk. Kill the polygons, delete the bottom points. Take the bottom 2 points, copy and paste them, move them down. Create a polygon out of it. And it's a bit large, so we're going to need to scale it down. Just get the rough shape though. And that's about the size we want. Maybe just a tiny bit smaller. Okay, and now we're going to extrude that. And we're going to copy it and paste in another layer so we can cut out the door frame. Swap those, Boolean subtract it. And it's a little bit thicker right here, and that's alright for right now. And now we also need to create a polygon for the door, or actually several polygons. I'm just going to turn symmetry on really quick. Of course, this is not centered. Alright, now with symmetry on, try that again. Okay, now I'm going to turn symmetry on. And there we go. And we just want to fit this inward. So we can have a door polygon that's flat. And we're going to bring these out just a little. Flip the door. Actually, that looks like it's good. Alright, now we're going to need to add a kind of a slight bevel on this so it picks up a little bit of highlight. And we're going to name it Tower Round Door Trim, and then Tower Round just Door. And we can cut that, paste it, cut and paste, cut and paste and stick it on the first layer. And there we have it. Our large round tower is completed. And we're going to save it. Tower round large. Alright, and now we're going to go and build a square tower.